Welcome to PropTech Pulse, the podcast that takes the pulse of prop technology in multifamily. I'm your host, Shelly Robinson, and each week we'll be diving deep into innovations, challenges, and the future of work in property technology and multifamily. From AI-driven property management to blockchain and real estate, we're here to explore how technology is reshaping the way we live, work, and invest in multifamily communities. Whether you're a property manager, a tech entrepreneur, an executive, or even simply curious about the future of living spaces, PropTech Pulse is your weekly dose of insights and inspiration. So let's sync our rhythms and get on with the show. It's time to take the pulse. We are here from Las Vegas, and I'm so excited to be speaking with you today, Robert. Welcome to the podcast.
Well, thanks for having me.
I've been looking forward to this conversation together, and why don't you tell our viewers and listeners today a little bit about what's brought you to this point today and what you're working on?
Sure. So as you mentioned, my name is Robert Golden. I'm the go-to-market director for our Zentra brand, newest brand from Allegion, same company that brings you amazing products like the Schleich locks, Von Duprin fire and life safety devices, LCN. But my history has really been in the commercial side of the business for security for over the last 20 years. I've worked on teams or led teams that have done everything from school security to university, museums, K through 12, you name it, we've done it. In fact, we did most port authorities across the country, airports, even the Freedom Tower in the 9/11 site.
Wow.
In 2018, Allegion asked me to take a deep dive into the multifamily business, a great growth opportunity somewhere that we've been supplying very dependable locks and some of our smart locks products at that point in time. With all of my commercial background and all the complexity of the different work that we've done in the past for security, quite frankly, I completely underestimated the challenge that was in front of me.
Yeah.
I thought it would be, maybe a year, 18 months, I'd solve the complexity of multifamily and be on my way to another project. And I guess the kicker is I'm still here today, truly trying to understand the complexity and what makes multifamily unique. And what I found on my journey was multifamily is a unique blend and very dynamic environment. It is commercial, right? By security, it's run by commercial code, right? And you have owners and operators running a professional business. In that exact same environment, it's somebody's home, right? And that's the residential side of the business. From a security perspective, when you think about security and convenience, you want to be able to protect your residents, right? You want to attract, retain your residents. They want to feel safe in their home.
They do.
But it can't be a prison either, right? Residents want to be able to interact with their friends and their families and their guests. And so what really led us on this journey was looking for the right combination of software and hardware to pull into this industry to really create a amazing, seamless experience, right? And drive that access simplicity, something that we saw that was missing in the industry.
That has actually been a huge pain point in multifamily for a long time. I think I worked at a property once and we had like 3 different systems, one to get into the garage, another one to get into the doors, and another one for the keys. So that's something that you're working on solving? Absolutely.
And it makes a lot of sense on why you're seeing 2 to 3, even 4. We've been to properties where there've been 7 different systems related to the access control side. And if you think about your amenity spaces and your perimeter, it's generally armed via your traditional access control, no different than you'll find in your office. Card readers that are wired for real-time access, for example.
Yeah.
But the evolution of the electronic lock and then smart locking systems at the unit came through a completely different path, a completely different delivery mechanism. And thus those 2 things have been separated since the beginning of how they were implemented into those buildings.
They were. On
top of that, the resident units today still tend to be offline, right? And everything around your perimeter tends to be online. So you also had to disconnect on that infrastructure.
Yeah.
What we're trying to solve through, our parent company, they make tremendous fire and life safety products. They make the locks for every door and application you can imagine in your building. What we were looking at then was how do we tie that together with an amazing software solution that ties every door into one single solution that allows you to use any credential, whether that ends up being a physical fob, whether that's a mobile credential powered by Bluetooth, or whether that's the next generation of credentials powered by NFC, things that you would see like Apple Tap and Go or your Samsung or Android type wallet applications. And then tying that all back into one system so that for the property management system, it's very intuitive workflows that really make sense to the operators. But then for the resident, the ability to gain access into the building, as you mentioned, the same access or the same credential gets you into the garage, gets you into the building, into the package room, into my unit. The ability to create and distribute those credentials as well as revoke those credentials. And then finally, for all of the guests and the vendors, again, a simple management system that allows those transactions to happen seamlessly.
It's that simplification that's really hard to do. And that's
Absolutely.
like one of the questions I like to ask on my podcast is, how is it simplifying the way that people work and live in property management? And where do you kind of see that going with what you're working on?
Yeah, when you think about those multiple databases, right, there's a lot of repeat information going into them. If a resident moves in, for example, the name of the resident, the start date of that lease, the turnover date of that lease, that information can be ported into the start date of our credentials and the end dates of our credentials. And so why create all of that extra energy, especially if you're spreading that against 2 or 3 or 4 different systems? It should be able to port that information in from your PMS. It should be able to really kind of fade into the background. We're really focused on minimizing or eliminating all the tasks that a property manager needs to focus on relative to security. But at the same time, then look at those workflows. How are they generating maintenance tickets? And then how are those credentials being generated from a safety perspective? Do you want them to be revoked at the end of the day? Audit trails are so important, right? Understanding who's entering the unit, when they exited the unit. You know, there are laws now on the books in Florida. They're being ratified in different states around who's entered at what time and when. And then in multifamily today, our buildings are becoming much more dynamic. There's a lot of people entering the building, from package delivery to food services to guests and vendors. And so being able to not only have a pulse on who's in your building and what that interaction looks like, but also enabling that convenience layer that the residents still want to be able to have because this is their home. Those are the things that we're really focused on. Each persona, solving for each journey, and then trying to simplify that and abstract all of that complexity. And so just one simple intuitive system for each one of those users.
How do you feel like in the feedback that you're getting from your customers now that that's impacting the resident experience too? We've talked a little bit about the on-site staff experience. What is the benefit to the residents in having that unified approach? Yeah,
I think there's all types of different things that we look at from the resident perspective. Just simply having peace of mind, right? We've seen security spike here recently, understanding that, these systems are coming from brands and companies that you trust. They want to feel safe at home. But at the same time, the convenience, especially when you start to move towards mobile credentials, to create one credential. I don't have to remember about bringing keys. I don't have to worry about who has had those keys. As we move forward, we can open up different windows. And, if a resident would like to see the audit trail, we can show them who has been in and out of their unit. Generating visitor passes, if the property wants to, from the resident level, also enables a lot more of that convenience and that, that overall kind of resident experience you're looking for. But there's still a very strong underlying thread around security as well, right? And making sure that I feel safe at home.
That's really good. One last question for you before we wrap up today. What's your bold prediction for the future of multifamily in like the next 5 years?
Yeah, I see really mobile credentials taking off. And there's a lot of great reasons for it, but I'll leave you with a couple. One, if we can move forward with the ability to generate credentials, revoke credentials in that virtual layer, right? Just think about the time spent on actually programming a physical credential. And then you got to spend 10 minutes to make sure you're distributing that credential. If someone's running late, your schedule starts to change. Revoking those credentials or re-credentialing if someone doesn't turn in their credential. Vendor management, maintenance management, staff management, all of that kind of interaction completely moves to the side. If you're pulling rent roll right into the system, an app can be downloaded and a resident can move in when you turn on that credential, right? When a resident leaves, that credential automatically turns off. And I think really the next kind of generator towards that is this tap and go experience you have with the Apple Wallet experience in Android. Extremely convenient, very intuitive, no different than if you use a fob today, you're just tapping your phone. But it comes with all of that additional horsepower and technology inside that phone that allows us to do even more great things for both the operators and the residents. So I think mobile credentials really take off because it really shrinks that gap between security and convenience.
Yeah.
You see them on opposite ends of the pendulum. Technology allows us to pull those things together without compromising on both.
Awesome. Well, it's been really great talking to you today, Robert, and I look forward to seeing you at the rest of the convention.
Appreciate it. Thanks for having me.
Thanks. And that wraps up another episode of PropTech Pulse. I hope this conversation has given you valuable insights and perhaps even sparked some ideas for your own PropTech journey. Remember, the future of multifamily is being written right now with every technological advance and innovative solution. So stay curious, stay connected, and keep your finger on the pulse of PropTech. If you enjoyed this episode, please subscribe to PropTech Pulse on your favorite podcast platform and share this along with your colleagues. You can also find us on social media for bite-sized insights and updates. I'm Shelley Robinson, and until next time, let's keep innovating, disrupting, and keep pushing the boundaries of what's possible in PropTech and multifamily. Let's build it together.